What's this over here I see? Coming out from the corner of the room, it must be Dr. Flinchbaugh. Well, if you hadn't heard Flinchbaugh, this is a roast for Dr. Barry Flinchbaugh. And the grill's hot.
The name's Flinchbaugh.
I knew there was one of the 6 fat Dutchmen that finally got found.
You know, they appear to be in good humor. We may pull this off.
Well, thanks to the free wine, I think. And I'm not sure if that's the governor's wine or if that's the wine that was produced locally.
You may get a response in the DVD later, you know. Maestro.
Oh, all phones off, please. And now, the evening's here, and so he'll face your retribution.
I'm ready. Bring on all
My
comers.
friends, I'll say it clear. He'll state his case with some exclusions.
That's obvious. That's no question.
He's lived a life that's full.
It's damn funny.
He's traveled each and every highway.
That's a fact. I've traveled every highway in this
more,
damn state. Damned
much
extension
more
meetings.
than this. He did it his way.
Damn right I did.
Regrets, he's had a few,
I remind you, damn few.
but then again, too few to mention.
That's better. That's correct. That's much more like
He did what he had to do and saw it through without exemption.
By the way, I wrote Freedom to Farm, not
He
Roberts.
planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway.
Now, what the hell is a
And
byway?
much more than this. He did it his
my own damn way.
way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew,
What did I know?
when he bit off more than he could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, he chewed it up and spit it out. The records show he'll take the blows and do it his way.
Ate that cigar.
He's loved, he's laughed and cried,
Never cried.
he's had his fill, his share of losing.
I never lose. That's bullshit.
And now, as laughs subside,
Joe Paterno never loses either.
he finds it all
Have I ever
so
mentioned I'm a personal friend
amusing
of Joe Paterno?
to think
I've never told many people that.
he did all that. And may I say, not in his shy way.
You know better than that. There ain't no
Oh
shy
no.
way.
Oh no, not him.
No, not me.
He did it his
I did it my own damn way.
For what is a man? What has he got?
If you don't know that by now, son,
If
you've
not
got problems.
himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels,
That's right.
and not the words of one who kneels.
I kneel for no one. Maybe Harry
The
Truman.
record shows he took the blows
I've got this cane.
and did it his
My own damn way. My own damn way. The crooner you hear here is Jack Lindquist. He's the president of the Kansas Agriculture and Rural Leadership Program.
And this is Eric Atkinson, the voice of agriculture for Kansas State University, and our MC for the roasting and toasting.
We invite
of
you to
Dr.
join
Barry
us.
Flinchbaugh.
Sing with us.
He did it his way. If you'll be patient, we'll get the old man to come up here. Oh. You're being called out, Flinchbaugh. Where did he learn that cane poking thing? That is your shirt. I thought that was Ferdinand Marcos' shirt.
I've been complaining all week. Somebody stole my damn shirt.
Over to you.
I got a sore foot. You want to work on it? First, we're going to explain the rules of the roast. You are the roastee. No. They is the roasters. Roastee is quiet till the end of the roast.
You need a better cigar.
No, that's all right. All right. You look like you're beside yourself. Difference being that I make this look good. Now. You can go. Well, that was adventurous. We are now to somewhat more of the formal part of the program, I certainly hope. I am pleased and proud and even eager to be part of this evening. And we will eat here very shortly, but first we'd like to have the major sponsor, Farm Credit Associations of Kansas, offer an official welcome. I'd ask Janet McPherson to come to the podium, if you would, Janet, and do such.
Thanks, Eric. I've just got to say, I almost want to run my fingers through your hair, but I'm afraid what I'll end up with, so I'm not going to do that. This really should be a celebration for Kathy Flinchbaugh, don't you think? What an amazing woman. Well, we really do appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this very, very special evening. To honor, if that's what we can call it, a very special man, Barry Flinchbaugh, and to raise money for the Carl program. I think we can say that we pay tribute, although it may be quite painful for our guest of honor tonight, to Dr. Barry Flinchbaugh. Dr. Flinchbaugh has invested his career in preparing and producing leaders who are capable of discerning public policy questions, free of value judgments. How many of you remember papers from his class with a red VJ throughout them? We should have brought those. I know I still have mine. And we appreciate the advancement of those discussions into translation of farm and rural policy. We in the farm credit system continue to benefit from his knowledge and his wisdom and appreciate his contributions to the ag industry. The farm credit system is comprised of six borrower-owned institutions serving farmers, ranchers, agribusinesses, and rural communities. There are 6 retail associations in Kansas: Farm Credit of Western Kansas, Farm Credit Services of Southwest Kansas, Farm Credit of Ness City, High Plains Farm Credit Services of Central Kansas, and Frontier Farm Credit. We are patronage-paying associations serving more than 15,000 shareholders. Farm Credit has a rich tradition in Kansas for 91 years, almost as long as Barry Flinchbaugh. In fact, the first Farm Credit land loan was made near Larned nearly 90 years ago. He may remember that. We are joined this evening by representatives from several of our retail associations, as well as colleagues from our wholesale bank that serves our district, U.S. Ag Bank, where we get the funds to loan to our farmers, ranchers, agribusinesses, and rural homeowners. Special thanks to Daryl Rhodes, who's the president and CEO of U.S. Ag Bank, who's joined us this evening. Daryl, if you'd stand. And I would ask that all of the staff and directors affiliated with the Farm Credit Associations of Kansas and U.S. Ag Bank to please stand at this time and be recognized. We in Farm Credit have benefited greatly from the CARL program. We've been a donor from the inception, and probably equally as treasured to us, we've had a staff member and several customers on average in every class. In an age where posturing so often prevails over statesmanship, men like Barry Flinchbaugh are rare. That's not to say he's a relic. Well, you use your judgment there. And Barry has known so many elected officials in his years of service, and they together have really set a bar for conduct and statesmanship, again, a monumental contribution, one that's going to be severely undermined tonight, I'm afraid. Now, that's not to say that Barry dodges issues in his role of appreciating statesmanship. All topics are fair game: sex, politics, religion, mutually exclusive, of course. Well, at least politics from religion. Rumor has it he's an authority on 2 of the 3. I really don't want to know which 2. All matters are open for discussion, except, of course, the credit title of the Farm Bill. That's exactly why Flinchbaugh is regarded like no other, and a statesman and a friend to many. To the CARL Committee who tirelessly planned this event, and to Dr. Flinchbaugh, thank you for the opportunity to be a sponsor and a partner. It's a great opportunity to celebrate the accomplishments of a great friend and a leader, and of a wonderful program. Dr. Flinchbaugh, we in Farm Credit are better for having learned from you, and we're blessed by knowing you.
Thank you, Janet, and again, thanks to Farm Credit Associations of Kansas for being the major sponsor of this evening's event. We will dine here shortly, but I would invite the chairman of the board of the Kansas Agriculture and Rural Leadership Program, Mark Winger, to come forward and offer the invocation. Mark.
Thank you, Eric. It's going to be very difficult to give an invocation with the proper level of piety, so we'll just go ahead in a Barry Flinchbaugh manner and my normal manner of just winging it. And I apologize ahead of time for any irreverence that might come about. So let's pray together. Dear Lord and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this beautiful day that you've given us and for giving us this opportunity to celebrate the life up to date of Dr. Barry Flinchbaugh, your servant and your great creation. Many of us had the privilege of knowing Dr. Flinchbaugh for many years and being able to benefit from his tutelage and his knowledge and his witticisms. And Lord, we thank you so much for putting him here on this earth. And also we thank you for allowing us to be residents of this great state of Kansas. And thank you for bringing this import from the state of Pennsylvania to us so that we could benefit. Now we pray that you'll bless this time, bless the mirth that's going to happen here tonight. And we thank you for all these things in your son's name. Amen.
Thank you, Mark. Enjoy your meal. This shirt is starting to itch, and I don't want to know why, so I'm going to change place. Barry, up here. Up here. No. Oh, yes. Yes. That's right.
You're holding up the whole party. Dangerous, supposed to be seen and not heard.
You'll sit to my left, which would be your political leaning, of course. Welcome once again as we support the Kansas Agriculture and Rural Leadership Program with this roast of Dr. Barry Flinchbaugh, a legend in his own mind. A humble man who has a great deal to be humble about. That's right, it's still good. Before we go any further, I would like to take a moment here to recognize the underwriters of this event, and I would like to have the tables featuring those underwriters stand and be recognized. The platinum level underwriter, the Farm Credit Associations of Kansas. Would you folks please stand? Please give them a hand. And the gold level underwriters, please stand and hold your applause until I introduce all of these, if you would. Cereal Food Processors, Kansas Ag Bankers Association, Kansas Bankers Association, the Kansas Livestock Association, Kansas Wheat, and U.S. Bank. Would you all please stand? Thank you. Now, I'm going to assume we don't have to go over the roast ground rules again, that you're a quick learner. Never mind. It's wasted breath. To set the tone here as we get underway, I would invite the director of the Huck Boyd Center for Rural Development at Kansas State University, Ron Wilson, to come forth. He is going to share some prose that we hope will set the mood. Ron?
Ron Wilson from Manhattan, Kansas. Howdy, folks, and good evening. Dr. Flinchbaugh, it's too late for you to flunk us. Just keep that in mind. I took ag policy from him, not ag poetry, but nonetheless, I have some cowboy poetry to share with you. It's great to come together in Wichita tonight to roast a great Kansan for a cause that's just right. Tonight, we join to roast Dr. Barry Flinchbaugh, an opportunity which has proven a tremendous draw. Folks have come from all over, even from Washington, D.C., to be part of this evening for Dr. Flinchbaugh, you see. He came to Kansas after studying at Penn State and Purdue. As Extension Ag Policy Specialist, he truly came through. He married Kathy during those early years and built a tremendous extension career. He became Extension State Leader and is known worldwide for his ag policy knowledge and insight he can provide. His impact is tremendous for the ag policy work he could do, and of course he is co-founder of the Carl program too. He's a tremendous speaker and teacher, but he never seems to go far without chewing on his crummy unlit cigar. Now we salute this great Kansan for his impact on students and farm law and extend our very best wishes to Dr. Barry Flinchbaugh.
Thank you, Ron. That's as sentimental as it's going to get, I assure you. A couple of our featured speakers could not be here this evening because they were called to stay in Washington, D.C. to deal with a little matter known as the funding bill for the war in Iraq. So they could not be here this evening, regrettably, but they were good enough to share some thoughts recorded and something you can probably take home with you later of their thoughts on Barry Flinchbaugh. We would start with a gentleman whom you all know, Senator Pat Roberts. Just a bit about the senator. You've all, or many of you, have been to the bowl games, and you have heard Senator Roberts in his most eloquent way express his thoughts about Kansas State University. He particularly expresses his appreciation for Dr. John Weefald, who will be on the program a bit later. If any of you have heard Senator Roberts' comments, he is often referred to Dr. Weefald as Moses for resurrecting Kansas State University. He will be. It begs the question, if Dr. Weefald is Moses, then who is Pat Roberts? Is he the burning bush? And given the political climate in Washington, I'm not sure that burning bush would be something that you'd want to say or refer to. Anyway, let's hear what Senator Pat Roberts has to say about our good friend Barry Flinchbaugh.
Good evening. Our moderator, Mike Seifert, Legislative Director for Senator Pat Roberts, and an 11-year veteran of ag policy in Washington.
Many thanks to Carl for honoring Dr. Barry Flinchbaugh. Personally, like so many, I have enjoyed some success in my public service career, despite having been a student of Dr. Flinchbaugh, self-described guru of agriculture program policy. We recently taped an interview with Barry regarding this event when he was in Washington, instructing Democrats how to write a new farm bill. I must warn you, he was in typical Barry Flinchbaugh mood.
Should we roll the tape, sir?
Roll it. Dr. Flinchbaugh, you must be proud to be honored by Carl. I think it's November 16.
Just a minute. Well, I don't know why I should be honored. I'm not getting a damn thing for this except a lot of grief from a bunch of knuckleheads.
Dr. Flinchbaugh, you were born in Pennsylvania, graduated from Penn State and Purdue. How did you actually get a job in Kansas, and how did you convince Kansans you know anything about Kansas agriculture?
Well, that's quite a question from a young whippersnapper like you. But it was easy. I just read the Hutchison News and read what Doug Weldon wrote, and then I did just the opposite.
One of your significant accomplishments was to be named Outstanding Professor from KSU Ag students 3 times. How did you accomplish this?
Well, it's easy. You just give them A's and they'll give you an award. That's pretty simple. And then they ignore everything that you taught them. It's crazy. Those crazy damn kids, it's amazing any of them made a living in agriculture.
Dr. Flinchbaugh, it's reported you speak to over 100 audiences a year. If all these people have heard you before, how do you expect to get anyone to attend the Carl event?
Well, excuse me. That's an easy choice. It was between me or 2 senators or 4 congressmen, former Secretary of Agriculture with his movie crew, and the governor. Now, I ain't going to make any political statements here tonight. I'm nonpartisan. But you have to notice I don't have my cigar lit. I don't want to emit any CO2.
Keep the air clean. Dr. Flinchbaugh, you were appointed to the 21st Century Commission on Production Agriculture. What kind of progress did the Congress make on your recommendations?
Not a damn thing. Not one damn thing. After all, it is Washington. What'd you expect? They're all wrapped around their own axle back there.
Dr. Flinchbaugh, did you actually say that writing a farm bill under Senate Ag Committee Chairman Tom Harkin was cruel and unusual punishment under the Constitution?
Now, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. That's classified. But I will say this. This farm bill is banned from the Army Field Manual, and it comes under the Geneva Convention.
Moving right along, Dr. Flinchbaugh, I understand that you have advised or met with every president since Cal Coolidge.
Now, wait a minute. It wasn't Cal Coolidge. It was Nixon, and he took my advice. Now, he, of course, had a run of bad luck, you might say. Then Ford almost killed me with a golf ball, and all Jimmy Carter wanted to talk about was the peanut program. Now, Reagan, he thought jelly beans was a farm program crop, and he tried to kill the sugar program. Now, Bush won. We made the mistake of serving him broccoli, and we just didn't get beyond that. Now, Clinton, he kept asking me if I inhaled one of these cigars. I said, I don't inhale. I chew them. Now, he didn't tell me what he does from them, or he does with them, or these cigars, and I ain't going there.
Dr. Flinchbaugh, will your family be attending the Carl event?
Yes, and I'm very proud of them.
You should be. By the way, how on earth did you and Kathy end up with a son, Dr. James, a veterinarian in Oklahoma, and a lawyer, Catherine, in Vermont?
Well, in the first place, we all know Oklahoma is better than Texas, and that all Okies wish that they were in Kansas. So in politics, he is known as what we call a goodwill ambassador. Now, with sweet Catherine, back in Vermont, Lord knows someone had to straighten that state out. I tried, but they stopped me at the border. And the state troopers were wearing organic cotton and Catherine tells me that there's more protein in those Vermont apples than you might think there is. Plus, she's our secret weapon to end the dairy program back there.
Dr. Flinchbaugh, one more question for you.
Now look, I think we've spent enough time with this foolishness. Everybody out there is going to have some kind of a roast deal or an honoring deal. And besides, this interview is over. I've got places to go and people to irritate. So this interview's over.
Thank you, Dr. Flinchbaugh.
Do you have anything else you want to say, son?
Yes, sir. Barry, in all seriousness, you have been a terrific teacher and mentor, but an even better friend to both Christy and I. We very much wanted to be there tonight, but obviously the schedule in Washington didn't allow us. So simply know that we're there in spirit and wish you and your family all the very best.
Dr. Barry Flinchbaugh, thank you so much. We've had a little fun at your expense. Thank you to Carl for holding this very special event for a very special man. I know I will hear a lot from Barry after this so-called interview. You know, we come to Washington to make a difference, and I know that Barry Flinchbaugh did exactly the same thing at Kansas State. Barry, you and I made agriculture history with the 96 Act, and I think farmers and ranchers certainly benefited. I want to thank you for that, but more especially, I want to thank you for being a friend, an advisor, and a counselor down through the years, not only to me, but all of my staff and so many people in Washington. My friend, thank you so much. You're the kind of friend that stands behind you when you're taking the bows and beside you when you're taking the booze. We've done a lot both together, and I look forward to many more years. Thank you so much, and the best to you and to your family. And thanks to Carl.
He's irrepressible, Senator Roberts, and we thank him for that very much. Also, Senator Sam Brownback had to stay back in D.C. for the same reasons this evening. He had planned to be here, but could not be away. Of course, Sam is a former student of Barry's and has forged quite a remarkable political career of his own. Boy, that was a faux pas. Wow. No, never mind. Sam has forged quite a political career despite you, was what I was trying to say, but we'll just pass on that. So anyway, Sam did send his greetings and salutations via DVD as well, so we'd like to hear now from Senator Sam Brownback.
Barry, good evening, and it's a pleasure to join you. I hope to join you in person, but we're in voting, and so I couldn't be there. I can just see your smiling face now. Although I want to say, Barry, I know and I understand I'm one of your great failures in life. That you look at me and you say, now here was somebody I taught better than this, and yet they go off and do all this conservative politics, and I know you believe that you've completely failed with me, and I'm sorry that I've disappointed you so much. I understand the disappointment, but I have something to substitute for you on this. I've talked with Ted Kennedy. I know you favor him over me, and I've talked with him about what all you have taught him, and so I want to give this thank you to you on behalf of Ted Kennedy. Ted wants to express to you how much he appreciates all you've taught him on agricultural policy. I guess everything that there is in Massachusetts. He wants to thank you for all that you've taught him on how to get involved in policy issues. He doesn't want to talk about any of the personal life items that you've taught him, and I don't want to get into those either. He does appreciate everything that you have done to teach him economics of government-run economic systems. And he's just really appreciative of you of everything. Now, from a personal standpoint from me, I'm appreciative of what you taught me of the love of policy. And here, I really can't thank you more than saying that. When I gave the Landon lecture, which I noticed you weren't there, but be that as it may, I know you were busy. I talked about how much you had taught me the love of policy, and others had too. But I love a policy discussion. I love the interaction I love the policy debate. I love the factual contention. I love how we come together and even the sparring that takes place with policy. And that I learned from you. And I appreciate you very much for having taught me that just that love of the policy-making process. And for most people, they'd look at that and they'd just go, that just really seems strange. I can understand how you'd love sports, or you would love an industry, you'd love agriculture, or you'd love this or that, but policy-making? And yet the process to me is just fascinating. It's wonderful. It's enjoyable. It doesn't always produce the perfect results. I was on the plane the other day with a guy, and he said, you know, when I was young, I was a liberal and a Democrat. As I got older, I became a conservative and a Republican, and now I just read the sports page, saying that, you know, both have disappointed me in the process. And I think for a lot of people, they can look at it and say, yeah, I went this way, and that didn't produce anything. I went that way. That didn't solve the world's problems, and so now I just read the sports page. And I could see people thinking that way. The problem is that the policy process goes on, and we are imperfect, and we get it wrong a lot, but yet it's important. It's in important people's lives, and I want to thank you, Barry and Kathy and your family, for all you've given to me personally, to this state, and to this nation in an important time, not just on agricultural policy, but love for the policy debate. God bless you.
Thanks also to Senator Brownback. We appreciate his comments. Now, this is a gift from the Senators Brownback and Roberts. This is to be presented to you. It's a hunting trip with Dick Cheney. Enjoy your stay. Another individual who we hoped would be here but could not because of previous obligations was former U.S. Congressman and former U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Dan Glickman. He had a prior engagement and simply could not get away. I suspect it was more of an incident where he could not scare up a screenwriter to write a speech for him. Sorry. Anyway, he did submit a DVD as well, and we'd like to hear now from former Secretary Dan Glickman.
Hi, I'm Dan Glickman. I'm a friend of Barry Flinchbaugh. I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight in Wichita, but I did want to at least come in via the DVD, using the technology of the modern era to let you know how I really feel about my friend Barry Flinchbaugh. In all my years in public life, in the Congress, in the Department of Agriculture, and now in the motion picture industry, I can truly say that Barry has taught me just about everything I know and I use in my daily life, and I hope that his words, at least I think that his words and his advice have been successful. He is truly a legend in his own mind, however, and there's no question that his advice has been accompanied by a tremendous lack of humility. I don't think it's an understatement to say that he is not a humble man. In fact, if you look in the dictionary under the word humble, you will not see his picture there. But in any event, this is a man who is extremely outspoken. I recall a meeting at the White House with President Clinton several years ago, a meeting on agriculture where Barry was very, very upfront in telling the president how to run the agriculture department, how to run the country. And of course, this occurred just days before the Monica Lewinsky disclosure. I don't know if Barry helped or hurt in that regard. But this is the man who has given me advice about how to run my professional life, particularly as it relates to agricultural policy, but generally how it relates to what I've done everywhere. And I wanted to just go through with you quickly the 5 points that he has made about how to make my life more successful. The first point that he always tells me about, some useful information, he says, Dan, have principles. When I went into the agriculture department, he says, Dan, you've got to be a man of principle. And to that, he encouraged me to look at the words of one of his favorite philosophers, Groucho Marx, who Groucho said, a very famous quote that Barry uses all the time. Groucho said, these are my principles, and if you don't like them, I have others. And of course, that is something that I have learned from Barry over the years, especially as I dealt with farm policy. The other thing that Barry said was, keep to the facts. Keep to the facts, Dan. And he pointed me to Mark Twain. But when I looked up this quote, I thought, well, it was a little bit strange. It said, Twain said, "I am not one of those who, in expressing opinions, confine myself to the facts." And I really do think that was part of Barry's great strength in university and public life. Barry also said to me, he says, "Be creative and have ideas, Dan. Don't just be locked into a traditional way of looking at the world." I'm reminded that FDR once said, "Winston Churchill has 100 ideas a day, of which 4 are good." So one of these days, I hope that Barry will catch up with Churchill in terms of that. I think I have. The fourth thing Barry used to tell me is be sincere, or at least act like you're sincere. Again, he pointed me to Groucho, his favorite philosopher, who said the most important quality of political success is sincerity. And when you can fake that, you've got it made. And finally, Barry knew that in the public world that I was going to be in, whether it was the Agriculture Department or Congress, or even in the world of movies, which he is so interested in, he said, "Dan, you're going to have to learn to handle stress." And he referred me to a second favorite philosopher, that's Old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra, who said, basically, "I'm for anything that gets you through the night, be it prayer, tranquilizers, or a bottle of Jack Daniels." So these are the things that Barry taught me that made me a better public servant. But in all seriousness, I want to say that he has been a good friend. He has been a great mentor and colleague. I have agreed with him more than I've disagreed with him. He's got that great sense of humor. As Mark Twain once said, "Against the assault of laughter, all can stand." Barry's learned that smile, that humor, can make a big difference as you deal with all sorts of serious issues. So I say congratulations to Barry at this roast. I hope that you all raise a lot of money, and I hope that Barry has many, many, many more years to give me serious, thoughtful, cogent advice about how to be a successful politician or perhaps to be a successful movie mogul. Thank you very much.
And our thanks as well to Secretary Glickman. Alas, yet another of our luminaries could not be here this evening. The Honorable Governor of this state of Kansas, Kathleen Sebelius, could not be here. She had a previous engagement, we're told. I suspect rather that she got wind of the word from many years back that back in 1993 at the Copper Bowl in Arizona, you romantically pursued then Governor Joan Finney and embraced her in front of 30,000 K-State fans wantonly and shamelessly. I suspect that's why Governor Sebelius is not here this evening. You're not denying this, are you? Anybody with pictures of that would be welcome to come to the podium. Governor Sebelius has submitted some thoughts as well on Barry, so we would like to hear those now.
I'm Governor Kathleen Sebelius. I'm so sorry not to be with you in person tonight, but couldn't resist the opportunity to share a few thoughts about Barry Flinchbaugh. Barry has left his mark on the Kansas landscape, and not just in piles of his chewed-up cigars. As an expert in agriculture, economics, and politics, Flinchbaugh has had a distinguished career. He's been a faculty member at Kansas State University since 1871. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 1971. And Flinchbaugh is the only faculty member in history of the university to receive a wheelbarrow of manure dumped on his office floor. Perhaps his most significant impact was on the 1996 Farm Bill, one of the most important pieces of agriculture legislation in the last 50 years. His efforts earned him a temporary monument in the form of a dummy, a likeness of Barry, nearly burned in effigy and hung in a tree outside his building. Flinchbaugh is known throughout the world, having hosted the likes of Mikhail Gorbachev in his home. Flinchbaugh is known throughout the United States, having met the likes of Barry Goldwater. And Flinchbaugh is known to farmers and ranchers in small towns across Kansas, having encountered the likes of Miss Kitty in Dodge City. In all seriousness, his contribution to the development of rural Kansas, the prosperity of the agriculture industry, and the positive impact he's had on generations of students and leaders throughout the years is second to none. He bleeds purple and is forever a Wildcat. Barry, Kansas is a better place for having you here, and I'm grateful for all you do.
And our thanks as well to Governor Sebelius. Incidentally, the 4-disc DVD set of the Flinchbaugh Roast will be available for rental at Blockbuster starting tomorrow. And to follow up on the governor's comments, we have Kansas Secretary of Agriculture Adrian Polansky here to share a few thoughts. Now, he is probably the most abused man or abused person in this room next to Kathy Flinchbaugh, in that his wife Christine is an ardent KU fan. So we know he's suffering mightily, but please pull him through these dark times if you would, and welcome Adrian Polansky.
Well, thank you. It's certainly an honor to participate here this evening in this great event. You know, as you're probably aware, Barry and I go back some years now. There's been a rumor off and on throughout that time that I want to address here to begin with, and that rumor has been, that surfaced every now and then, is that we're twins. And I tried to understand how we could be mistaken for twins, and I recalled the movie that you all recall with a couple of interesting individuals, Arnold and Danny, and I thought, well, maybe we each resemble one of those characters. Maybe that's what that was. But then I come to realize it was this, that both of us have these views about purple, and that is that purple goes with everything, and you can't wear purple too often. So I think that's where the confusion has come from. I just graduated from Kansas State when Barry came to Kansas, and that turned out to be quite a close call, as it turns out. At least some believe that I've been somewhat successful in agriculture and business and government, but as you've heard already this evening, that just by 1 year, my entire future could have been at risk if he'd have been in Kansas one year earlier. Barry has a number of attributes, as we've already heard about this evening. One of them that I recognize is that he can admit he's wrong, sort of. For instance, his stance on ethanol has evolved over the years, but I can say that it's far better to have him on your side than against you. I was also interested in a comment by an individual here recently that mentioned that Barry had related to him that now that he's retired, he feels free to say what he thinks. Now, if that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. I also consulted with some other friends about Barry, and some say that Barry is a visionary, and some of the folks I've talked to, just hope that he's not in their vision. But anyway, as we've heard from the speakers so far, countless individuals across the country have turned to him to help sort out complicated farm policy and politics and economics. Even though some of us don't always like the answers, but as we know, he tells us anyway. One of the things I've learned along the way is I think he enjoys it when we don't agree with him more than when we're in agreement. His fingerprints and cigar